Hey guys, Beto here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Canto, To the Power of 8, out June 4th on Napalm Records. This album has 12 tracks, 48 minutes in length, and this is the band's 8th full-length studio record. They are a German a cappella power metal band. Now I want to start off this review by mentioning the title of the record, To the Power of 8. This is their 8th record. This album features 8 members. So you see that number really well represented across all the main components of this album. So I love the idea behind the title of the record because it's a pure direct connection to the record itself. Once you get into the structure of the album, this record is really well defined, but it almost doesn't need to be well defined. Now, once you look at the tracks, you start to see that there are 4 cover songs on this album. That's a third of the tracks. You got a Monomarth, Raise Your Horns, you got an AC/DC, Thunderstruck, Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills, and Queen, I Want It All. Because of these 4 songs, you have to be a little bit more careful on how you structure the record. You don't want to have the album to have pockets that pull the listener in a complete different direction from where you're going with the original songs. Because of it, you have to alternate them throughout the overall experience of the album, allowing the listener to kind of discover these cover songs almost by accident as you're progressing through the record. So that is the only thing that you really have to keep in mind when building this album, because as far as the original songs are concerned, the strength is there. It doesn't matter which one comes first, which one comes second. They don't take anything away from each other because they have a lot of the same elements and they're definitely all pulling you in the same direction. As far as the soundscape goes, this album is really rich in sound. I really like the presence, the power, the strength that it has, and it really allows the overall essence of these tracks to really come to life. And I don't mean just the cover songs, and those you perhaps feel a little bit more power, a little bit more strength, because they're coming from a much different perspective. But the original tracks have equal amount of power, equal amount of strength, both vocally and musically, in terms of what they give to the record, what they give to the listener, and how uniform they stay from top all the way to the bottom. Outside of those cover songs, the album is very balanced in its sound, in its approach, in its execution. There are some nuances here and there with a song or two, but overall you just feel like this is a very equal sounding record. And as far as quality goes, the same thing is true. Like I said, those cover songs create some necessary inflections, some ebbs and flows that help the mobility of the album, that help the fluidity of the album, but that don't have a positive or negative impact on the overall sound and the overall presence, because the record itself is worth for its whole, and the quality of the individual tracks really takes you to that finish line. Now, within that sound, you have an incredible rhythm section. And I think this is an important element. I mean, when it comes to Canto, you perhaps gravitate more towards the vocals, how powerful they are, what they do with them, the sonic perspective that they give to the songs, and how they expand these tracks, how they make them so much bigger. It always becomes the main focal point on any Canto record. But I really feel like the rhythm section on this album deserves some attention. I don't think you can have these songs sounding as big as they do in some cases. I don't think you can have these covers feeling as bombastic or as close to the original as they do without a rhythm section that works as well as it does on this record. I really like the drums, I really like the bass, I like the cooperation between the two, because they really create the foundation on every single track. Everything else that is happening on this album is really happening because of how well those two pieces work with one another in order to build the road, in order to build the needed base for everything else that is happening. And everything else that is happening is an incredible vocal performance across all 12 tracks. Just outstanding. Sometimes you even get goosebumps because they really push the envelope ever so slightly with some tracks, the combination of different vocal styles, and then obviously you have Philip Dennis Schunk, a triumphant return, if you will, to this record, and he is really the icing on the cake, if you will, as far as the vocal performance goes. But I love the vocals on this album. I love what they do with them. I love the range. I love the power, the strength, really understanding the songs, not only the cover tracks, but also their own unique tracks, their own music, if you will, in order to bring the most out of every single element and really make these songs come to life at every single turn. There are certain points on this record that you almost forget that this is an a cappella album. That is the power and the strength that the vocals have on this record. Overall, this album has incredible rakatakas, high rakatakas, low rakatakas, all sorts of rakatakas. I love this record. It was a real fun experience to listen to. I love the fact that they sprinkled some covers throughout the album. I think that adds extra spice It adds extra value to the overall experience, not to take anything away from their original material, but you almost always look forward to what that cover is going to sound like, and it's a nice tie-in in between original tracks. So I enjoy this record. I think it's a great record. If you're a fan of the band, you're going to be a fan of this album. If you're not a fan of the Rock Attackers, then it doesn't almost matter what they do. They're just never going to be your cup of tea, if you will. But for the fans of the band, for the fans of a cappella, this record really delivers. It has a lot of strength top to bottom. I like the fluidity, I like the playability that it has to offer. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Dead by the Night. This is the second track on the album. Great tempo, great energy, bombastic from the opening. Is a song that has just great movement. It barely ever slows, it just always moves forward. The chorus finds a little bit more sound, a little bit more flair, becomes a little bit more robust, a little bit bigger, and this is what creates the dynamics of this track, is that changes between the verses and the chorus as far as the volume is concerned. The song becomes bigger, then it contracts again in the verses, then expands again in the chorus. I just love that approach. Then you have a bridge with some harsher vocals that really brings the mood of the song down. That's perhaps the slowest moment of the track. And what this track loses in tempo, it gains in heaviness. It becomes a little bit heavier. But then it goes back to the original formula, and it's a song that kind of finishes as strong as it did as it started. It goes nearly full circle. So I love the bombastic nature of this track, and having it at the beginning of the album really helps ignite the experience. It really hooks you early, and that's a key factor in order for you to stay hooked for the rest of the experience. Now, out in the cover land, my favorite is Raise Your Horns, the Amon Amarth cover. I mean, it's very close between this one and Run to the Hills, the Iron Maiden cover. Both are absolutely phenomenal, just phenomenal. This one, to me, it appealed perhaps a little bit more because of some of the elements that it had. They captured the essence of the original. They captured the heaviness of the original with their vocal approach. The drums on this song also feel a little bit heavier, feel like they have a little bit more power, a little bit more intent. And because of those two elements, because of the proximity to the original, in terms of how they kept this song together, how they kept this song united, and how the vocals do 99% of the lifting as far as this track goes, this really became my favorite within the covers world of this record. Last but not least, Hardrock Padlock. This is a pop rock 80s style track. I love the fun nature of this song. It has fun nature in the lyrics, it has fun nature in its approach, it has fun nature in its sound. I just like everything about it. It just has a very catchy tune to it. It's built in a very pop rock kind of way as far as the overall structure is concerned. Then the sound and vocals really match that nature, really match that aspect that the track has, and allows this song to be hooky, memorable, to move well, to have dynamic mechanisms, to be interesting, to be fun, and it has a little bit of a throwback vibe. Like I said, there's a little bit of an 80s rock, pop rock feel to it, and that's an interesting approach because it matches their voices really well, and it's a song that comes a little bit outside the box of everything else that you're going to get from them as far as the original material is concerned. This is it. This is Van Canto with To the Power of 8, out June 4th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.